and gentlemen, welcome back to Exotic Astrology. And finally, it's that time of the year again when the eclipse is around the corner. And 2nd July this year, 2019, we are going to have the solar eclipse in the nakshatra of Ardra, where Sun and Moon will be conjunct in Gemini in Ardra, and Rahu will be in its close proximity. So whenever Sun and Moon are together or 7 houses apart, and Rahu Ketu is nearer to them, nearer by certain degrees, like some say 10 degrees or 12 degrees or 15 degrees almost, then they say that it is an eclipse. Alright, so today we will discuss on this eclipse for every zodiac sign depending on your ascendant, the rising sign, or the lagna, the first house. And in the beginning I will give an introduction to this transit. So what you should not do is directly go to your ascendant. All right, first you should listen to this introduction of this eclipse, otherwise you will not be able to understand what the results will be for you. All right, so once you know this, then you can go to your ascendant. Okay, and the date, as I already said, it's July 2nd, depending on where you stay. And yes, if you want some help regarding this transit from me, depending on your personal horoscope, depending on what dasha you are running, depending on the planets that are placed in the sign of Gemini, then you can always do so by going down to my website. You will find the link to my website in the description section of this below. All right, and yes, as I always say, after many days I have started making videos, so I will again say God is there with you all the time. Just look to him and you will find him. All right, so now let's discuss in short what are eclipses. Well, eclipses are times when Rahu and Ketu impact us very prominently. Why? Because eclipses are those days or those seasons, I would say, when Rahu and Ketu, or Rahu or Ketu, I would say, either of the ones, they can, because they are very close to the Sun and Moon, and Sun represents the soul, the conception of being in this world. That's what Sun is. And Moon represents the conception of how do you feel about being in this world. So Sun, as I always say, he's the king, which means Sun shows to what extent will you have a kingdom in this world. To what extent will you have the possession of things in this world? People, resources, land, car, husband, wife, all these things are seen by the Sun, because Sun is the significator of light. So how much light is there in you? That's what the Sun is. And Moon will tell you, well, suppose you have a big kingdom or you have a small kingdom. How do you feel about the kingdom? Yes, that is why Moon is always very, very important. And according to the scriptures like the Brihat Parashara Hola Shastra, Moon is even much more important than the Sun. Why this is? Because suppose you have a small kingdom but you feel very good about it, then you will be very happy. But suppose you have a very big kingdom, which is a big Sun, but your Moon is not well placed, or Moon is afflicted, or Moon is in debility, or Moon is in a difficult state, in a difficult house, then it could happen that although you have so many things in life, but you are still complaining, you are not happy. Have you seen people having so much yet not happy and still complaining? Yes. So there you go. Now, this does not mean that the Sun is less important, but what happens during an eclipse is Rahu and Ketu have the power to affect our conception of being in this world, which is the Sun, and our feeling. How do we feel about being in this world? All right, that's the Moon. So Rahu and Ketu are very powerful. And now this eclipse is happening in Ardra nakshatra. So what is the nakshatra of Ardra? Ardra is the nakshatra which is itself ruled by Rahu. And by the way, Rahu will not be in Ardra. Rahu will be in Punarvasu nakshatra, okay, inside Gemini. So now what's happening is Ardra nakshatra is also ruled by Rahu. So you could say that this eclipse, Rahu will be able to play his role more prominently than the eclipses which have been taking place in the last 3 years, because after Swati again this nakshatra is ruled by Rahu. Okay, and then after 4-5 years again, after some time you will again see that Rahu will again be very prominent, because then the eclipse will be in Aquarius where Shatabhisha nakshatra is, okay, which is ruled by Rahu again after some years. So now what's Ardra basically? Ardra nakshatra, they say it is related to Lord Shiva. It is related to, they say Ardra is related to teardrops. Now teardrops, what does this mean? Teardrops necessarily does not mean that it is something bad. Teardrops at a lower level can mean that when something is taken away from you, you feel like crying. That's the smashan, the 8th house. That's what Ardra is. But at a higher level, when you realize that you have nothing to lose actually, because nothing is yours. Why? Because Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva lokamaheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim ruchati. That one who understands that I am the enjoyer, controller and proprietor of everything that exists, that person is happy. So that's the peace formula. Alright. And Lord Krishna also says in the Gita, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kangshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim lavate param. Now this means that one who is situated in transcendence does not hanker or does not lament. So in essence, what I am trying to say is, this eclipse will give you an opportunity to come to this platform. How it will give you? Well, it will give you certain tests. It will give you certain allurements. It will give you certain things in life which maybe you would have expected or maybe you would have not expected. Alright, but what happens at the end is, you will get a chance to realize that to what extent am I connected spiritually to the universe? To what extent am I in tune with the universe? To what extent is my consciousness going towards the ultimate goal of life? Am I just hovering around in this material plane, just running after things like money or the opposite sex or wine, meat, name, fame, popularity? Not that these things are bad, but these things cannot be the goal of our life. We can earn money, we can have a family, there's no problem with that, but our ultimate goal of life is to elevate our consciousness spiritually. All right, so Ardra nakshatra will give us a chance. This eclipse in Ardra will give you a chance to see how much are you free from the mentality of controllership. How do you behave when you get things which you always wanted? How do you behave when you lose things that you always wanted? Yes, or things which you always had. When that is taken away from you, how do you behave? So that's something very interesting which this eclipse is going to show us. All right, and as I said, there are many places in YouTube where there's a lot of fear mongering going on for this eclipse, that this eclipse is bad or terrible things are going to happen, which they say with every eclipse, surprisingly. So ultimately you have to remember what happens in your life will be dependent on the dashas that you are running. Okay, so if you want the overview of what actually is going to happen in this transit for you, you need to check which dashas you are running. Okay, which planets they are, which houses they are ruling, and where they are placed, and which nakshatra they are placed in. Okay, they will give you the ultimate result. All right, so now let us go to the ascendants. So let us start with Aries ascendants, number 1 of the Kalpurush Kundli. All right, so now for Aries, this eclipse is going to happen in your 3rd house. Yes, 3rd house is the house of short distance travel. 3rd house is the house of courage. 3rd house is the house of new initiatives in life. 3rd house is the house where you meet a lot of acquaintances. 3rd house is also the house where you start writing. You start communicating those things which you always wanted to do. So now what happens is, you will get a chance, depending on your dasha of course, to express yourself in a way that you feel I should communicate my feelings, I should communicate the things that I always wanted to do. So Aries Ascendants, if you have any plan of writing a book or publishing something, third house also has things related to publishing, of course, you can do it. If you plan to travel to any place, you can do that. If you plan to open a startup, you can do that. Now why do I say startup? Because startup means what? You need to put a lot of efforts, a lot of energy, you need to do it yourself, you need to do things which nobody has ever done, and you also need to have the persistence to get things done even if you know they are very difficult. All right, so for Aries Ascendants, it's a time to do new things, to dive into areas where you probably had never gone. All right, and remember, this transit is very important because Rahu is very, very, very powerful in the third house. So do not misuse the next 1 year. So please utilize this coming year, because Rahu will be there for another 12 months, 14 months, 15 months in Gemini. So please utilize this sign properly this time. It will yield great results for you, depending on your dasha, of course. Great results doesn't mean externally you become a millionaire. It doesn't necessarily mean that. That will depend on your dasha, how much resources you have. But now is the time you will be able to make big decisions in life, okay, which requires a lot of courage, because always remember, Mars is the karaka for the third house. So wherever third house comes in, Mars comes in. All right, so if you could do some worship related to Lord Narasimha Dev, who is one of the avatars of Lord Vishnu, it's great. You can chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. This mantra will help you, okay, 108 times every day morning. If you chant, it is great for you, okay, for the next 1 year till Rahu is in Gemini. All right, so now let's go to Taurus Ascendants. So for Taurus Ascendants, this eclipse is happening in your second house. So now what's the second house? So now Rahu transits in your second house. Second house is the house of your wealth, family, accumulated knowledge, accumulated wealth, savings. Income is the 10th house and the 11th house. Savings is the second house. So now is the time that if you have plans for some specific sorts of investments, do it. But be careful. Rahu will give you certain allurements to go into things like shares and gambling. All right. Now you may think that, oh, this stuff is related to the 5th house. Well, the activity of gambling itself and the activity of shares and speculative business is alone 5th house, but your ultimate savings is in the second house. Do not forget that. Okay, so Rahu can give you allurements. Rahu can, depending on your chart and the dasha, make you behave in ways regarding money which you might think later, why did I behave like this? All right, so it could happen that some family member from your family needs some money and they might ask money from you. These things could happen. Or if you have a well established business and your dasha is supporting that, then it could happen that you are trying to expand your source of income now. All right, source of income doesn't mean you are making some big business change or big business decision. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but you are now you will be very much focused, if you have your own business, towards expanding the financial sector. So which could mean that you start investing new things in your business. That could happen, but it's not a very big managerial change. For that, the 10th house is required. Okay, so it's like saying you have something which is existing already, but you try to see within that boundary how you can fit new things in a way that your savings increase. And second house is also food, so it can happen that you get tempted to go into things like wine or speaking things which you regret later. Okay, so second house, the karaka is Jupiter. So for you guys, if you would want me to give any mantra, then you should chant the mantra for Vaman Dev. So for Vaman Dev, the mantra is Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Vamanaya. This is the mantra. Okay, So this mantra 108 times every day morning, if you can chant, it's great for you. Alright, so next let's go to Gemini Ascendants. So for Gemini, this is happening in your ascendant itself, the first house, the Lagna, the rising sign. So now what this can bring is, this can bring many things depending on your dasha. This can bring new things in life. This can bring things related to your health. It can bring diseases, or it can bring cure also. It could happen that there are certain things which were lurking inside regarding your health, and now it can happen that those things come out. Okay. Or it could happen that you are fighting against a disease for many years, but now you are able to get the cure for that disease. That can happen. So it will depend on where the flow of the horoscope is, because you cannot give a prediction for the ascendant, because ascendant is like the king. So wherever the chart is flowing, the king flows. Okay. But essentially you can say there are new beginnings which are happening in your life, and these beginnings will make you more I would say unorthodox. These beginnings will give you a chance to look at life in a way that you have not looked before ever. Okay. And these things, because Rahu is also the karaka for foreign substances, so it could happen that foreign things are coming in your life. Okay. Foreign people are coming to your life. It could happen that your existing life is still the same, but you have to do newer and newer, so you have to get new strategies to get things done. Okay. So this does not necessarily mean that your life goes around 360 degrees. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it definitely means that now is the time that you will be looking towards life with a different vision. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. It just means that you try to work on things which you tried before. So there's a tip for you guys. If you feel that from long time there is something in your life which you have been working, but it is not working in your favor, it's not giving you the results that you want, then I would say now is the time you should change that. Okay. So if you are planning to go for some specific food, nutrients, okay, some diet or anything like that, or any health structure, or anything to do with your reputation, because Lagna is also the reputation, what people think of you, or Lagna is also the appearance. So regarding these things, if you have tried to improve but you failed due to some reason, now is the time that you can introspect why you failed, and now is the time that you need to take the necessary steps to go ahead, all right, with a new approach to life. So take this as a breath of fresh air, and you will always feel that now life is taking a different course. Now life is demanding a different version from you. That's what Gemini Ascendants will feel. Okay. So utilize this time for the next 1 year, because this eclipse will again happen after 18 years only. Okay. So my good wishes to the Gemini Ascendants. And as a remedy, if you want to chant a mantra every day 108 times in the morning, well, you could chant the mantra for Jupiter, because Rahu is in the Lagna and Jupiter gets Digbali there. So you can also chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Vamanaya, just like the Taurus Ascendants. Okay. And in the evening you can chant Om Namah Shivaya, one mala after sunset. Okay. Or if you are in Europe, because in Europe the sunset is very late, or somewhere in the US, then you could chant Om Namah Shivaya after 6 p.m. Okay. So this is what is recommended, and if you are already doing some other mantras, then continue doing that. Okay. So now let's go to Cancer Ascendants. So for Cancer Ascendants, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So now Rahu transits your 12th house. That means the kind of travels that you will take in life for the next 1 year will not be the way you expected, which means that now you may travel to foreign lands. Now foreign does not mean that a person in the US travels to India, or a person in India travels to the US. Foreign could also mean that places which may be in the same city, in the same town, in the same village, in the same country, but you feel as if that is like a foreign place, it's like a foreign country, which means you could feel that 12th house, which is also the house of the psychological mind, what's going on in the background. You could always feel that there are certain things in life which you now need to get rid of. Okay, because 12th house can show the baggages also in life. So now is the time that if you're battling with some difficulty, or especially addictions like having wine or eating meat or indulging in watching adult material in the internet, now is the time that you will get a new chance, a new opportunity to look to God, because 12th house is the house of moksha, as you all know, and get rid of these bad habits. Okay, because the ascendant cannot function unless the 12th house is good, because 12th house is the house of loss, they say. So whichever things or whichever people in your life that they are not contributing positively to your life, now is the time that you need to get rid of those people who are contributing for your downfall, who are degrading your energy, who are depleting your resources. Now is the time that you need to distance yourself from them. Okay, from living beings and from non-living objects. Okay, maybe you are watching too much TV, so you need to get rid of the TV. So now is the time, the next 1 year, that you need to clear off stuff, because now is the time you will get chance to do that. All right, so please do it. And because Saturn is the karaka for the 12th house, I could suggest if you could chant this mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, every day 408 times, in the morning or in the evening or in the afternoon or in the night, preferably in the morning. It will be very, very good for you. Okay, it will be extraordinary for you, in fact. So do this mantra, it will help you. Now let's come to the Leo ascendants. Now for Simha Lagna, Leo ascendants, this transit is happening in your 11th house. So they say that this is the best transit of Rahu in the 11th house, because Rahu loves to be, that's his favorite house. Why? Because that's the house of desire, and Rahu is the karaka for desire. Rahu is the reason why we are born. So now is the time, depending on your dasha, it will be decided. Will your desires be fulfilled, or to what extent they will be fulfilled? Okay, but one thing you will see, you will start communicating with so many people, so many new people will be there, so many people who you would have never met. And surprisingly, after Rahu moves to your 10th house, which will happen after around 15 months, you will see that you will never see these people again. So just take a note of the people who you meet in this next 15 months. They are the ones who will be there till this time, and maybe later they don't exist. All right, so you will also make a lot of superficial connections. Now there's one caution which I would like to give the Leo ascendants, that when you are meeting so many people and you're making new connections, do not let the demon of pride come inside you, that oh, I know so many people. Because always remember, Rahu is cloud. The moment it disappears, the cloud is gone. So suppose you have your friends, your family members, your husband, your wife, all the good people in your life who have been supporting you since long time. But now suppose you become egoistic, you become arrogant, and you say that, I don't need any of you, I have these friends, look at that girl, look that boy, they are there for me. No, please do not do that. Okay, so you will have a lot of stuff to rejoice, depending on your dasha, of course. But that does not mean that you throw away the people that are already existing in your life. All right, please do not do that. and if you use this properly, you can make connections, lots and lots and lots of connections. You can sign contracts, deals, negotiations. You can do collaborations. If you are in YouTube, it's a great time. Do collaborations, be together, enjoy, have fun. It's a great time. And also 11th house is the house of network circles and groups, associations, as I say. So now is the time you can do unconventional things within your group circles. Okay, so if you are the leader of a company, and now if you are trying to change certain things in the company, now is the time you can do that. All right, now is the time you will get a lot of support from the community. Okay, so now let's talk about Virgo ascendants. So for Virgo ascendants, this transit is happening in your 10th house. 10th house is this house where sun gets Digbali, directional strength. So this, just like for the Leos in the 11th house, this 10th house transit for the Virgos is also the most powerful transit. Okay, so when Rahu transits the 10th house, this directly has to do with your name, fame, status, power, position and authority, and this is phenomenal for your career growth. So anything you are planning to do in your career, if you are planning to get a promotion, now is the time you talk to your boss before 2nd July. I don't know if you will see this before that. But no problem, the results will be there till the next 6 months. Okay, so the thumb rule is for Virgos, whatever you want to do in your career front, just do it the next 6 months. Just do it. Don't think you will be successful or not. If you do not succeed, what will happen? At max you will fail, but that doesn't mean that you will lose something. Okay, so if you are planning to go out of your 9 to 5 job and open your own startup, now is the time. If you are planning to get an admission into a big university, now is the time. If you are planning to do some mergers, if you are a big businessman and you want to do some merger, now is the time. And now is the time that you tell the world the results of your activities. Now this does not mean that you keep boasting in Facebook about your achievements, but you have to behave in the workplace in a way that you communicate properly the things that you have done. Okay, so that's what Virgos have in store. So for Virgos, it's a very good time. It's a fantastic time, wonderful in fact. All right, so do not waste this opportunity. Utilize this to the fullest. Okay, and you will definitely benefit from this. All right, so now let's talk of Libra ascendants. So for Libra ascendants, this transit is happening in your 9th house. So 9th house is the house of gurus, it's the house of God, is the house of spirituality, it's the house of your father, it's the house of anything which takes you beyond this material world. All right, because that's the house of enlightenment, it's the house of empowerment, it's the house of motivation, it's the house of the guides. So now if you have been feeling from some time that you do not have a direction in life, you need a particular direction, you need somebody to tell you where to go in life. That could be anybody. That could be a doctor who gives you some health checkup or a consultation. That could be an astrologer. That could be your guru, your shiksha guru, your diksha guru, anybody. Or that could be your PhD guide or your master's guide or your professor or that teacher or that person who gives you tuitions or the online tutors. Okay, so now is the time that you should approach them and you should gain great knowledge from them. Okay, so if you are in a university and if you have some issues with your professor, then one thing that you could do is you could try something like e-learning, like websites like udemy.com or coursera.com. Like when I did my masters, then these two sites have helped me very much because Rahu represents technology. So when technology comes to the 9th house, what could happen? It could happen that you get gurus through technology, which means they are not directly in front of you, but they are still there somewhere sitting and guiding you. Okay, and you could also meet a lot of spiritual people. You could meet existing people from your spiritual community after a long time. This could happen. Okay, you could also take long distance travels, that could also happen. And if you want to become a guide or a guru yourself, of course we cannot become a guru, but if you want to become a life coach or anybody who helps others, then you could do that. Okay, so that will benefit you immensely. Now, and this is not to tell somebody that, oh, I am a great guru or somebody, no, don't go on boasting that, oh, look, I did this, I did that. This simply means that we genuinely want to help other people. It's just that, and nothing related to boasting. Okay, so even if you do not have any position in society, you could still always go and help people. All right, so whatever knowledge you have, you can always share it with others. Okay, so that's the best part about Rahu's transit in the 9th house. Alright, so now let's talk about Scorpio ascendants. So for Scorpio ascendants, this eclipse is going to happen in your 8th house. Now, what is the 8th house? 8th house is the house which shows you the things that you need to work on in this life. 8th house represents those things which don't let you move ahead in life. Alright, because 8th house represents addictions, your weaknesses. Any problem related to sexuality is seen from the 8th house. So now this means that if you have some issues for addictions or anything to deal with pornography or prostitution or anything to do with adultery, now is the time that you can work on those weaknesses. Alright, if you have a group of friends who force you, or apparently they pull you towards things like drinking or smoking, then now is the time that you need to tell them that, hey, enough is enough. Of course, what you do or what you don't, that will be decided by the dasha, of course, but this is a way by which you can try to get rid of the things which are preventing you from becoming your best version in life. Alright, so 8th house can also represent occult, it can represent astrology, it can represent things which take you into depth. Alright, so if you are doing some research, if you are doing your PhD, etc., then this is a very good time for you, depending on your dasha, of course. That for you guys, if you're into some masters or PhD, then you can actually do some serious concrete research now, which you have been postponing from many days, months or years maybe. So the 8th house transit, 8th house in a sense, if you ask me, then it represents those things which you must cross over for spiritual enlightenment. Alright, and because Saturn is the Karaka for the 8th house, so if you chant this mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, this will be very beneficial for you 108 times every day morning. Okay, it will do wonders for you. Alright, and yes, you need to have discipline in life. You cannot just do things whenever you want, anywhere. So have a disciplined life, have a schedule, get up on time, do your spiritual practices in the morning, then go to the office, do your work or to your business, and then do not spend too much time in the night. Okay, so when Rahu transits the 8th house, best is to sleep very early, not to waste time unnecessarily in things like social media or YouTube or watching some fancy stuff in the internet. Alright, so sleep early, that's the mantra. Okay. Alright, so now let us go to the Sagittarius ascendants. So for Sagittarius, this transit is in your 7th house. So now what's the 7th house? 7th house represents your spouse. 7th house represents all the people that you meet in this world, with whom you have intimate connections, because they are the ones which aspect the ascendant. Any planet in the 7th house will always aspect the ascendant. Now what does this mean? It means that 7th house represents those people who can impact your life very strongly. All right, that's what is the meaning of the seventh house. And our spouse or husband or wife, they can impact us very strongly because they stay with us most of the time. So that is why they are the personification of the seventh house. So now when Rahu transits your seventh house and this eclipse is there, it could happen that now you and your spouse, if you are married already, then there could be a new dimension to your relationship. Now is the time that you will work on issues which are pending from a long time. Now is the time that if you are not married, you could end up finding somebody. You could marry somebody from a different caste, creed and religion. That could happen. Or there could be some age gap, age difference if you are planning to get married. Now, will you get married or not? That will be dependent on the dasha. Alright, so if your dasha planets are signifying the 2nd, 7th and 11th house, these three houses primarily very strongly also through the nakshatra, then if you are single and if you want to get married and if you are of a marriageable age, so maybe if you are in India around 25 to 30 and if you are searching, maybe this is the time you get married. Okay, and if you are already married, as I always said before, that a new dimension could come into your existing relationship. Now some astrologers will tell you that, oh, Rahu is entering the 7th house, this transit will give you extra marital affair, or some astrologers will say it will break your marriage. No, it will not do that. It will only do that if your dasha is permitting. Okay, and of course the whole chart matters. So do not just start getting fear unnecessarily that, oh, I will have a divorce or my marriage will break or something of that sort. No, it's not like that. Okay, so there you go. Now is the time that you need to show loyalty to your partner, to your husband, to your wife. And the important thing here is not to expect things from them in return. Okay, because Rahu has a tendency to expect too much sometimes. So now is the time that you may be forced to be detached not in a wrong sense that the person leaves you or something like that, but it could happen that you realize this fact that ultimately it is your responsibility to make you happy. Okay, happiness is an inside job. Nobody else can make you happy. It is only you. So now is the time that you start working on yourself. Okay, and also you need to give time to others, to your spouse and to your near and dear ones, by which they do not feel left out. Okay, so maintain that balance. Alright, so now let's talk of Capricorn. So for Capricorn ascendants, this transit will be happening in the 6th house. And for Capricorn, this is a very phenomenal transit. Why do I say this? Only for Capricorn. Because your Jupiter is in the 11th house. Alright, so Jupiter in the 11th and Rahu in the 2nd. Fantastic. This is for your career, your money, finances, your job, your work prospects, hard work, discipline. All these things are there. So for the next 6 months or next 1 year, your mantra should be very clear. I will just have a disciplined life and I will focus on my health and I will work. It could happen that you might have to turn down a few invitations of partying. Alright, because now is the time that you will have to work seriously, because 6th house deals with the daily work which we do. So 6th house is very important for you, and 6 and 11 both are houses of money. Okay, so phenomenal time this is for you. Utilize this time properly. Be very disciplined in your workplace. Have a good relationship with your colleagues. And because Saturn and Mars are both the karakas for the 6th house, so every morning before you go to job, you can chant these two mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. You can also chant Om Namo Narayanaya for Saturn. Okay, they will immensely help you, and you should have a good healthy lifestyle, which means you should stop eating unnecessary things which make you an unhappy person. Alright, which will give you diseases like wine or meat especially. So if you are heavily into eating meat, then it could happen that now you could encounter some health issues. So please reduce your consumption of meat, and it's best if you can give it up altogether. All right, and this I am not saying because I am a vegetarian, because it's a matter of common sense that we should not be killing animals, and sixth house is the house of health. So if we enjoy by giving somebody pain, then we will not enjoy that pleasure for very long. That pain will be transferred to us by our karma, and it will manifest in different areas of our life. All right, so stay away from things which do not make you a better person. Okay, so now let's talk of Aquarius. So for Aquarius Lagna, Aquarius rising, this transit is happening in your 5th house, and 5th house is the house of mantra, it's the house of love, it's the house of intimacy, it's the house of children. So now it will depend on what your dasha is indicating. So for example, if your dasha is indicating you will have some love affair, then you could have some love affair. If your dasha is indicating you could have children, then you could end up having children. If your dasha is indicating you will go into speculation, speculative business, then you could go and end up in speculative business. Okay, if your dasha is indicating that you will get initiated by a guru, you will get diksha mantra, then that could also happen. And newer and newer ways of having enjoyment, having fun, relaxing basically, because 5th house is the 12th from the 6th, so it's like the end of job. End of job doesn't mean you are fired, it means when you come home and you are just relaxing, it's like you are not working, it's like no work now. Okay, so now is the time that you could have a trip with your family, to some location, to some distant place, if your dasha is indicating that. Okay, and accordingly you need to see that how you can make yourself into a better person, because 5th house is actually the house, it's the reason why you get up in the morning. So now is the time that you should check how much motivated you are in life. For what are you motivated in life? The good things, the bad things. All right, so the things which motivate you positively, stay tuned with those things, and the things which deviate you from being your best version, stay away from those things. All right, that is what is my conclusion for the Aquarius rising. And now the last but not the least, the Pisces rising, Pisces Lagna people. So for you this transit is happening in your 4th house, and 4th house, as we all know, it's the house of our happiness, it's the Sukhasthan, it's the house of peace and content and just relaxing. So now depending on your dasha, it will be indicating it will give you results. So for example, if you are in a university or a school and you are studying, then it could happen that now you have to study more intensely, because 4th house is also the school, remember it. Okay, do not forget. Then if you are having dashas of planets like Venus especially, and if Venus is connected to the 4th house, then it could happen you end up purchasing a vehicle, because Venus is the karaka for vehicles. If the dasha is of Mars and Saturn, or Mars or Saturn, then it could happen, if the 4th house is indicated in your dasha, it could happen that now you end up purchasing a property. Okay, and if the dasha planets are like, for example, Moon or Venus to some extent, not Venus directly, that would be for vehicles, but especially for Moon, then it could happen that you do some new stuff inside your home, inside your existing house. Okay, that could happen, or things related to your mother, they could also be prominent. And it could happen that now you want more time to spend with the family, which is perfectly fine. So now for the next 1.5 years you could spend time in your home more, spend time with your closed ones, rather than just going out and having some fancy stuff outside. So this is the time where you can thicken your existing connections with your family members and with your relatives and friends. That is very important, because 4th house represents your inner circle, closed ones. All right, so whatever the dasha is telling, that will happen. Okay, and this transit will be the trigger for those events to happen. All right, so, and yes, for Pisces, the mantra will be Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, because Moon, Lord Krishna, is the Karaka for the 4th house. Alright, Moon is the Karaka for the 4th house. Venus also, but primarily it is the Moon. Okay, so that is all from my side. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I hope this helps you. And yes, if you want a consultation from me regarding this transit and you want to know how this transit will affect you, then you could always go down to my description section where you will find the link to my website. Okay, God is there with you all the time. Just look to him and you will find him. Bye bye.